in case you missed the game on Sunday, which don't feel bad if you did. I am here for you. I am here as your conduit to everything that happens in Philadelphia sports, and if you miss it, I'm here. I've got your back. So Michkov gets benched in the first period. Now, there's a play where Glass goes down, scores a goal, and if you watch, Michkov didn't really back check. He's the last guy back in the play, and presumably that was part of why John Tortorella benched Michkov, who only played 2 minutes and 20 seconds in the first period. Now, that happened relatively early in the period, and he sat the rest of the way. And then it became a conversation point on the first intermission of the Press Row Show. Is he really going to sit him the rest of the game? Because that seems like a vast overreaction. What ended up happening was Michkov played pretty normal minutes the rest of the way, second and third period. But then Tortorella got asked about it post-game. Now, I think most people know where I stand on Tortorella. I think there's a lot of grandstanding, and there's a lot of playing it up for the camera, and there's just a lot of shit that, like, you just don't need to do anymore. And I get it, and I've heard from a lot of people, Torts has a great heart. He's almost intentionally misunderstood. I hear that. I also heard what Joel Farabee had to say, which I'll play here in a little bit as well. But Tortorella gets asked 2 questions post-game about Michkov. They weren't the only questions that were asked at the presser. You figured that 0-4-0 start to the homestand, to a 7-game homestand, he's not going to be happy. It's probably going to be a short presser. And so, like, what is the big story? Well, it's that he benched Michkov in the first period. So we're going to go over. We're going to listen in the entirety. I believe this was Colin Newby from 97.5 The Fanatic is the one who shot this video. I saw that The Fanatic also put it up, but I think he was the one who did it, so we'll give him the shout for the video. But 2 questions asked. And then you guys can decide out there if this was fair or if this was not fair to see the reaction that he gave to the media. Here we go.
You've talked a lot about Matvei having learning experiences. In the first there, it looked like after the goal, you kind of sat him down for the rest of the series. How is it hard for you to do that, and especially with him being so young, or is it just one of those moments that it's very easy to do?
No, it's part of the process.
So, okay, let's examine that part first, okay? So on one hand, reporter asks question. Question is relatively fair. Is it hard to do that? Torts says no, and ultimately says it's part of the process. Okay? Fair. We'll keep going.
You had mentioned
Charlie O'Connor now.
a few weeks ago when I believe you sat him.
Citing past precedent about benching Michkov, so we are in a very fair place. Charlie O'Connor, respected writer, does a very nice job, is a beat guy, is down there for practice, is all around the team. Not just somebody kind of flying in on game day like a certain jackass who's currently talking into a microphone.
For the rest of the game, and you had said that in retrospect you would have
just let me tell.
So you could tell that Torts kind of had a little bit of bubbling frustration from the first question, and now Charlie has laid out that before you answer my question, Charlie didn't say this, but this is a beautiful job of doing this. Charlie cites past precedent in setting up his question, which now pigeonholes Torts, because now you're about to not let the coach get away with what might be a bullshit answer. And now Tortorella is faced with, do I answer this question in earnest? Do I allow for the past precedent to be set, or it's already been set, but for it to be cited? So now we get the hand up, we get the interrupting, and now he's going to apparently kind of set the stage for what you're allowed to ask.
Tell you guys something, okay?
Let me tell you.
There are a number of things that come into play, not one specific play, okay? And you are at a disadvantage because I'm not going to give you information. It's
what? So, okay, a lot of things go into the decision. Fine. Not just one play. So maybe Michkov didn't just get benched because of the failure to back check. Okay, that's fine. But then he says, you guys are at a disadvantage because there's information and I'm not going to give it to you. Well, that's kind of fucked. But we'll get back there in a second because it's part of a larger issue. But okay, so you guys are asking about the star player on the team, the one that people pay to come see because they sure aren't coming. While Noah Cates has had a very nice, recent stretch. They're not paying money to come see Noah Cates. They're coming to see Matvei Michkov play. Okay, so you guys don't have all the information, but I'm not going to give you that information. Okay.
It's not always the play on the ice that I'm trying to teach.
Okay.
So use that as a context before you start all your bullshit.
before you start all your bullshit. Okay, so let me translate. Hold on. I'm actually going to back this up a little bit. Let me go back to where he initially. Okay, follow me on this, okay? I'm going to translate Torts. Here we go. Let me just say something really quickly before you keep going. There are a lot of things that you don't know about. A lot of people, they say a lot of things, and there's a lot of information, but you don't get to know what it is, and I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to tell you. Now, don't start with the fake news because there are a lot of things going in, but I'm not going to tell you what they are, but there are a lot of things, many things, and you can't ask questions. Quite frankly, that's what's happening, folks. That's what's happening, isn't it? All right, so I've translated it. Now, we'll bring it back, and in fairness, we will allow for Torts to have his moment.
Because I'm not going to give you information. It's not always the play on the ice that I'm trying to teach. So use that as a context before you start all your bullshit. There are so many things that go on, and with me trying to develop that player, and I'm going to continue to do it the way I think it should be done, but don't just look at the play. No.
Here's the problem, Torts, okay? And this isn't hard, okay? And if somebody wants to send this clip to Torts, they can, okay? And I know that there are people in the organization who watch this show, okay? Torts doesn't give a shit what I have to say. And I'm about to give him a little bit of credit because at some point in this, let me give him the benefit of the doubt, because he actually does kind of catch himself a little bit, okay? He catches himself and makes it slightly better, but slightly not. We'll finish it out, and then I'm going to come back.
No, he didn't do the job as far as back checking. No, he didn't do the job in the offense zone, but there are a number of other things that come into play. And again,
this is it.
I need to show you the respect that I'm not going to give you that information, and you don't realize that. So don't make a bigger deal out of it than you think you need to.
Okay. So I'm just going to try to put a cute little bow on this, okay? I think that is it growth for Torts that he's also trying to say, I am kind of screwing you by not giving you the information, and I need to be a little bit more understanding. Maybe. It's weird because he goes into Torts mode, and then there's like a very brief break, like a very brief moment on the inside that says, you're being hypocritical, John. You're being hypocritical, John. You're being hypocritical, John. So it's a weird position to be in, because this would be akin to, you go to a parent-teacher conference, and the teacher has thrown out your kid's essay, and you say, well, what was the problem with the paper that my kid wrote? So you go to parent-teacher conference, and the teacher says, listen, I had to throw out the essay. I couldn't count it. And you say, well, why? Did my kid plagiarize? And they go, there were a lot of factors. I didn't just throw out your kid's essay because it was bad. I threw out your kid's essay for a bunch of reasons, and I need to understand that you don't have all the information, but I'm not going to give you the information. Well, did my kid use ChatGPT? Did my kid use an exact anecdote from another kid in class? Did my kid use an example they found online and copy it word for word? Like, what did my kid do wrong? And the teacher just looks at you and says, like, I'm not going to give you that information, but I will be a little bit sensitive to the fact that you're still going to be upset because I'm not giving you the information, but you shouldn't be upset about it. Was this gaslighting? I don't know. Do I want to go that far? I don't know. Here's the thing. This guy has done the same thing all year with this player. The organization has presumably done nothing to quell it or to tell Tortorella that he needs to stop. So obviously the organization as a whole agrees with the methodology and the way that he has pulled Michkov out of the lineup or has scratched him or has benched him or whatever. Do I think it's bullshit? Yes and no. It's interesting because he says not only on the back check on the goal, but then he also mentions what happened in the offensive zone. So I don't know what else was missed somewhere along the line, but clearly there was another thing. Are we talking about the decorum on the bench? Are we talking about his approach to pregame, to practice? What other factors went into saying, you know what, enough's enough, he's sitting the rest of the first period? If you're not going to provide the context, or you're not going to even come remotely close to providing the context, then it's going to make it very, very difficult for anyone to look at this rant post-game and say, yeah, Torts is justified in his reasonings for benching him. Because you still walk away going, I have no idea why he benched him other than he didn't back check on the goal. That's it. Now, Could the media be more forceful? Yes. Could they have pushed back more on this? Yes. It would have been a totally fair thing to say, how exactly are we supposed to do our job if we are paid to evaluate what we see, observe, hear, are told, all of that? This is the job. You are actively withholding information from us and then chastising us for it. Yeah, there probably should have been some pushback on it. And my assumption is, I could be wrong, I would assume that there is a chance between now and Tuesday's game that Torts will either talk to the media in front of the cameras or away from them or something and may give them a nugget. I'm not saying this is going to be like last year with Felix Sandstrom where, he kind of shit on Sandstrom and then was like, all right, he's a young goalie and, I should have gone about that a different way. I think that there might be a slight backtrack coming because I don't know as an organization how you kind of roll with this mindset from the coach with the media postgame. I don't think it was a great look.